Hi, this is Paul, Tilly Sailing. This is part of the RYA radar course. We want to look at Rule 19, but we're going to run through the other rules first. So the first rule is to keep a lookout at all times by all available means. Rules say that every vessel should at all times maintain a proper lookout by sight and hearing, as well as by all other available means appropriate in the prevailing circumstances and conditions, so as to make a full appraisal of the situation and the risk of collision. So all available means, that includes radar, smell, sight. So additionally, for vessels with radar, we look at the efficiency and limitations of the radar equipment, any constraints imposed by the radar range scale in use. That's why it's important to zoom up and down, because of range discrimination. The effect on radar detection on the sea state, weather and other sources interference, so it bounces back on waves, and we see that in the other videos on radar with city sailing. The possibility that small vessels, ice and other floating objects may not be detected by radar at an adequate range. The number, location and movement of vessels detected by radar. The more exact assessment of the visibility that may be possible when radar is used to determine the range of vessels and other objects in the vicinity. So Rule 7a, every vessel shall use all available means appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions to determine if a risk of collision exists. If there is any such doubt, risk shall be deemed to exist. Proper use should be made of radar equipment if fitted and operational, including long-range scanning to obtain early risk warning of risk of collision, and radar plotting or equivalent systematic observation of detected objects. Assumptions shall not be made based on scanty information, especially scanty radar information. Action to avoid collision. Any action taken to avoid collision shall be taken in accordance with the rules of this part, and shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be positive, made in ample time, and with due regard to the observance of good seamanship. Any alteration of course and or speed to avoid collision shall, in the circumstances the case admit, be large enough to be readily apparent to another vessel observing visually or by radar. A succession of small alterations of course and or speed should be avoided. So if we're not in Rule 19, we alter course enough to change the aspect of our navigation lights. Within Rule 19, when we can't see each other, that alteration of course should be so it can be seen by the ARPA or visually, obviously, on the radar screen. If there is sufficient sea room, alteration of course alone may be the most effective action to avoid close quarter situation if it is made in good time. It is substantial and does not result in another close quarter situation. Action taken to avoid collision with another vessel shall be such as to result in passing at a safe distance. The effectiveness of action should be carefully checked until the other vessel is finally passed and clear. If necessary, to avoid collision or allow more time to assess the situation, a vessel shall slacken her speed, take all way off by stopping or reversing her means of propulsion. Rule 19. Conduct of vessels in restricted visibility. This rule applies to vessels not in sight of one another when navigating in or near an area of restricted visibility. Every vessel shall proceed at a safe speed adapted to the prevailing circumstances and conditions of restricted visibility. A power-driven vessel shall have her engines ready for immediate manoeuvre. So this could be, you could be in clear visibility, but the other vessel could be in a fog bank or a sandstorm. So it is for vessels that cannot see each other. A vessel which detects by radar alone the presence of another vessel shall determine if a close quarter situation is developing and or a risk of collision exists. If so, she should take avoiding action in ample time, provided that when such action consists of an alteration of course, so far as possible the following should be avoided. An alteration of course to port for a vessel forward of the beam other than the vessel being overtaken. An alteration of course towards a vessel, a beam or abaft the beam. I want to thank the RYA for this slide. This simplifies the restricted visibility, so the conduct of visibility in restricted visibility. In simple terms, Rule 19 tells us to alter course to starboard for a vessel forward of the beam, alter course to starboard for a vessel abeam or abaft the beam on the port side, alter course to port for a vessel abeam or abaft the beam on the starboard side. You should already be at minimum speed and looking out using all means before you consider your turn. Except where it has been determined that a risk of collision does not exist, every vessel which hears apparently forward of a beam the fog signal of another vessel, or which cannot avoid a close quarter situation with another vessel forward of the beam, shall reduce her speed to the minimum at which can be kept on her course. She shall, if necessary, take all way off, and in any event navigate with extreme caution until danger of collision is over. Notes to Rule 19 for small vessels. Fog increases the risk of collision. The misinterpretation of the radar picture can cause a collision, which may never have happened if the radar had not been used. There are factors small boaters can use in the fog to reduce the risk of being run down. Make sure you use a radar reflector, active or passive. If you can afford it, get an active radar reflector, and that will show a signal on the other vessel's radar screen. We'll discuss that in the radar course. Keep a good lookout by all available means. Be ready to take immediate avoiding action. Keep clear of shipping channels. So if you know fog is likely to come, study the weather beforehand. We have lots of videos on weather and local weather conditions and why fog develops. Be ready to take immediate avoiding action. Keep clear of shipping channels. And as you're a small vessel, keep away from the deep water and try and go to the shallow water, because the ships won't be able to hit you in the shallow water. Thank you very much for watching our video on Radar Rule 19. Please watch all the videos in order. Obviously this is only guidance. If you would like an RYA radar certificate, please come to one of our RYA city sailing radar courses, which we hold near Bank at the Company of Watermen and Lightermen, using state-of-the-art Wärtsilä simulator with 3 screens on the bridge with Actis and a choice of 3 radars. And we look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much. And Paul, City Sailing, out.